If you've seen many of my videos, you've probably heard me refer to a syllable as being stressed or accented. Well, what does that mean? In American English, certain words have stress within a sentence, and certain syllables have stress within a word. And it is this stress that allows our ears to understand the meaning and also to pick up the important parts of the sentence. Let's take, for example, the word about. About has two syllables. One is stressed. Can you guess which one it is? About. It's the second syllable. What makes a syllable stressed? Well, about. About. It is usually higher in pitch. About. Also, longer in duration. About. And it is this higher pitch and longer length that allows our ear to pick it up and understand what's being said. About. In longer words with more syllables, there can be a primary stress and a secondary stress. So the primary stress would be the highest in pitch and perhaps the longest, but there might also be another syllable that is important, that is brought out somewhat. For example, the word embarrassment. Embarrassment. So here it is the last two syllables that are not stressed, and it is the second syllable that is stressed. Embar. But the first syllable is also somewhat important and higher in pitch than the last two. Embarrassment. So the first syllable there has a secondary stress, and the second syllable has the primary stress. The last two syllables are unstressed. And within a sentence, I saw her at the meeting. Which words did you hear the best? I saw. This verb is higher in pitch. I saw her at the meeting. So it is meeting and saw that are the stressed words within this sentence. I saw her at the meeting. Let's take a look at some pictures. Here I've used some speech analysis software. It's a free download, and I'll put a link to it on my website. This software allows one to look at several aspects of the voice. Here I'm focusing on pitch because that's one of the important components of a stressed word or syllable. The blue lines represent the pitch of the voice. Here I've circled the stressed syllable in the word about. It is the second syllable that's stressed, and you can see that it has this curve up in this syllable. Here again on embarrassment, the accented syllable is slightly higher in pitch and has this scoop up in pitch. Embarrassment with the primary stress on the second syllable and a secondary stress on the first syllable. And in the sentence, here is the word saw and the word meeting. I saw her at the meeting, where both saw and the first half of the word meeting are the stressed syllables of the sentence. All of these accented syllables are generally higher in pitch and have this slight scoop up in the voice as the voice emphasizes the syllable. In addition to there being words and syllables that are stressed within a sentence, there are those that are reduced. For example, listen to how the word for is pronounced in this sentence. I got it for you. Fur. It was not at all for. I got it for you. So it was lower in pitch and much shorter than for. Fur. I got it for you. It is these changes in pitches, along with an understanding of the sounds, that make up an accent, and they are so important. There will be many more videos on stress, reduction, and speech patterns coming soon. I've been talking a lot recently with my private students about the shape of stress. Stress isn't simply a higher pitch and a lower pitch. Yesterday. Da, da, da. But actually there's a swoop from one pitch to the next. So there's always a gliding feeling. Yesterday. When my students are able to switch into this mode, it makes a world of difference. All of a sudden, the speech is much more natural, is much more American. This applies even to one-syllable words and one-syllable sentences. For example, yes. Yes. It's not yes, yes, all on one pitch. That's very flat. Yes. Yes. Hi. 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 Do you hear that change in pitch, that shape in that syllable? Very different from hi, 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 hi. So the shape of a stressed syllable has the pitch gliding up and the pitch gliding down. Let's take, for example, the word hello. Hello. Low. Do you hear how the change in pitch isn't abrupt? It slides from lower to higher and lower again. This is very different from hello, hello. An abrupt pitch change of two flat ideas. Hell, oh, hell, oh. Hello. It's not a bad idea to practice words and sentences very under pace, sliding from pitch to pitch. For example, hey, how are you? Then when you speed it up, don't think of switching back into speaking mode. Think of taking this stretched out, gliding from pitch to pitch speech and speeding it up. We don't want the character of that to change. You want to keep that in your speech. So please keep this in mind and do practice speaking under pace sometimes. Stress is much more than a change in pitch. It's how you change the pitch. That's it, and thanks so much for using Rachel's English. A lot of people think when they're studying a language and they're new to it that they need to pronounce each word fully and clearly in order to be well understood. But in English, that's actually not the case. English is a stress-timed language. That means some syllables will be longer and some will be shorter. Many languages, however, are syllable-timed, which means each syllable has the same length. Examples of syllable-timed languages: French, Spanish, Cantonese. So when an American hears a sentence of English with each syllable having the same length, it takes just a little bit longer to get the meaning. This is because we are used to stressed syllables. Syllables that will pop out of the line because they're longer and they have more shape. Our ears, our brains go straight to those words. Those are the content words. When all syllables are the same length, then there's no way for the ear to know which words are the most important. So this is why stress is so important in American English. It's a stress-timed language. When you give us nice shape in your stressed syllables, you're giving us the meaning of the sentence. This means that other syllables need to be unstressed, flatter, quicker, so that the stressed syllables are what the ear goes to. This is why it's so important to reduce function words that can reduce in American English. When those function words are part of a whole, part of a sentence, they are pronounced differently. Let's look at some examples. Did-a. Did-a. Do you know what I'm saying? A native speaker might not either, but in the context of a sentence, I'm going to the store. A native speaker would know exactly what I was saying. I'm going to the store. I'm going to the store. When to the is pronounced da-da, da-da. Reduced and linked, going and store become the obvious words in that sentence. I'm going to the store. What about kaza? Kaza. Can you understand what I'm saying? A native speaker might not either, but in the sentence fragment, 'cause of my job, 'cause of my job, a native speaker would know exactly what I was saying. Because of my job. 'Cause of my job. Because and of are so unstressed, so reduced and low in pitch, that the word job is able to really jump out of the sentence. Because of my job. This is really of primary importance in American English pronunciation. As you're working on pronunciation, keep in mind this idea of a word being part of a whole. The word for. Part of a whole becomes for. For you. For me. For dinner. Practice it this way. Drill it over and over. Other words that can reduce and can become n. Them can become them or At can become it. To can become t or d. Can become can. Are can become Was can become was. That can become that. Your can become your. At the can become at the. And so on. So keep an eye out for this as you're studying pronunciation and listening to native speakers. That's it, and thanks so much for using Rachel's English. I'm excited to announce that I'm running another online course, so do check out my website for details. You'll find this video will focus on function words, or the words that will be lower in pitch, often very quick, sometimes lower in volume, and sometimes even reduced. Reduced means a sound in the word may be altered or dropped altogether. If you're not familiar with what stressed means, you might want to watch the Intro to Word Stress video first. Intonation is the idea that we vary pitches throughout a sentence, throughout speech. We do not speak always on the same pitch. We vary our pitches a lot. This is part of what makes it easier to understand what's being said. Understanding the pitch patterns of American English, that's an important part to being understood. So how do you know which words should be stressed, higher in pitch, and which should be unstressed, lower in pitch? Well, content words are the words that will generally be stressed, and function words will generally be unstressed. There are several categories and subcategories of function words. This video is just an overview. Later videos will cover more specifically categories with examples. Articles are function words, for example, a and the. In the sentence, do you have the time? Do you have the time? Do you see how the word the is low in pitch? Do you have the time? Auxiliary verbs are function words. Auxiliary verbs are also called helping verbs, and in English grammar they are paired with main verbs. There are several kinds. First, the kind of auxiliary verb that helps to make the passive voice. For example, the sentence, the wall was painted yesterday. The wall was painted. It didn't paint anything. Passive. The wall was painted yesterday. In this sentence, the word was is the auxiliary verb. The wall was painted, was painted. Do you see how it's lower in pitch? The wall was painted yesterday. We also need an auxiliary verb to help make the ing or progressive form. For example, in the sentence, you are speaking too fast. The word are here is the auxiliary verb. You are speaking too fast. Do you see how it's lower in pitch than the word speaking? You are speaking too fast. These cases are often written as contractions. You're speaking too fast. Another kind of auxiliary verb is the one that helps to make the perfect tense. For example, in the sentence, she has given up. The word has is our helping verb here. She has given up. She is. Do you see how the word has is very low in pitch? It's actually been reduced, and I have dropped the H. She has given up. Modal verbs are also auxiliary or helping verbs. For example, might, could, and can. Take, for example, the sentence, I can go tomorrow. I can go tomorrow. Do you see how it's lower in pitch? It's unstressed. It's actually even reduced. From can to can. I can go tomorrow. I can go tomorrow. Prepositions are also function words. For example, with, on, beside. And so are pronouns. For example, our, she. In the sentence, he came with his friends. The word with, a preposition, low in pitch, unstressed. He came with his friends. Also, the word his, a possessive pronoun. He came with his, just like with, very low in pitch, unstressed. He came with his friends. Conjunctions are also function words. For example, and, but, if. In the example sentence, I'll come if you want. I'll come if you want. You can see that if is one of the words that is not stressed. It is lower in pitch. I'll come if you want. To review, function words are the words that will generally be unstressed in a sentence. So this means they'll be lower in pitch, sometimes lower in volume, often very, very fast. Sometimes they will even reduce, which means a sound will change or will get dropped. They are the opposite of content words, which will generally be stressed within a sentence. This contrast of stressed and unstressed is very important in American English. So now that you know a bit more about it, do try to use it while speaking. That's it, and thanks so much for using Rachel's English.